Hey everyone, Chen here. I just wanted to give you guys an update on what I'm doing. I know this is a video that's a little bit non-traditional for this channel, but I figured if you guys are following me, you'd be interested in this new venture that I'm getting into. I made this announcement just a few days ago on my Instagram. I am now part owner of 000 magazine. I'm just gonna run you folks quickly through my history with 000 and how all of this came about. Initially, they reached out to me back in 2017 when they started the magazine for me to help them shoot issue number 2. I have the cover of issue number 2, and we went out to the Thermal Club and we shot 3 Porsches in the desert on the track. And let me tell you, it was game-changing. It was such a great time, but specifically, I just want to talk about the interaction and how it changed the game for me in terms of shooting for any client, but specifically a print magazine. Traditionally, it's really interesting for me to talk to other photographers about what it's like to shoot for a print magazine because of the fact that budgets have been shrinking over time and less people buy normal magazines, especially the ones that you just toss in the trash after you read them. It's really, really difficult to make a living off of working for a magazine. It's the case for newspapers, it's the case for non-car magazines like National Geographic, et cetera. It's just something that's across the board. When I was talking to up-and-coming photographers around the time before I started working with 000, people were thinking that the way to break in the industry or the way to have your major break was to have a magazine cover. For example, like having a Super Street cover. What they didn't understand was that having a magazine cover was cool in terms of having something to show for, but it definitely did not help pay the bills. You would have to, at the time, in order for you to make a living as a photographer, you would have to shoot multiple covers, maybe 2 a week, just to be able to earn a living, just to be able to eat. And that's what a lot of people didn't really understand. The budgets were just not there. And for editorial, they're just scraping the bottom of the barrel to be able to survive themselves. Selling advertisements, getting subscriptions, it was difficult. It's just like a dying model. So when I started doing work with 000, I can't tell you how refreshing it was. First of all, it's the first magazine I've ever worked with, ever. And I've been shooting cars for 20 years where they pay a living wage, where they make sure the photographers, the writers, contributors, and people associated with the magazine are taken care of. The reason why this business model works, of course, is because it's not really a magazine, it's more of a book. And of course, the premium price that you pay for this quarterly journal or book reflects that. The price goes to the best photography from the best photographers that I look up to, as well as the best writers. Now, when I first stepped foot at the Thermal Club, getting ready to shoot these 3 incredible vehicles, I just didn't really understand how nerdy these folks from 000 were going to get when it comes to photographing these cars. How deep they went into these cars is something that I've never experienced, ever. After shooting for so many years, just the smallest little things, the way certain things have texture or color, or even just like the tiniest little thing, like a rubber hose coming from underneath the car, or just the way the tire lube escapes the tire after getting mounted, and then it's run really hard on the track. Like the smallest things, including the accessories, the instruction manuals, all the little knickknacks that come with the cars, all these things that I just never really thought were important to photograph and to show in the best light possible, they pointed out and they're like, Larry, you have to get a shot of this. You have to get a shot of that. I noticed that this is different from here. And like the nerdiness is something I just never experienced, and I was so blown away. With that said, I was just so happy to be able to work with these individuals that were so photography focused. They were so photography forward. In fact, that first issue that I did, issue number 2, got nominated for an award by the Motoring Press Guild. For me, it was an honor because I was, I guess, the combo breaker. I'm very candid about the fact that I look up to Jeff Swart. You know, I say that he's my pretend dad, and we have very, very similar careers that are separated by exactly 30 years, right? So he used to shoot a lot of magazines. He used to shoot car commercials on the still side. He still shoots car commercials, but he's a director now. And he loves getting behind the wheel. So a lot of the cars that he shoots as new cars, I'm shooting as historic cars. So come to find out, he shot issue 0, which is the prototype, and then he also shot issue 1, which is great because I became the combo breaker. I shot issue 2, and then since then I've shot so many covers, I've shot so many stories all over, and it's been such an incredible journey. We'll talk about a couple other really significant stories. One big one that comes to mind, I've done a couple videos on this story, was during mid-shutdown. It was honestly the worst time of my life. I was so lost, right? Because as a creator and an automotive photographer, all I knew was going outside, going to these events, following these stories, shooting these incredible cars, meeting people. And when I was told that I couldn't leave the country and I couldn't even leave my house, I went stir crazy. It was very, very difficult for me mentally. All I wanted to do was to pick up a camera and shoot. So mid-shutdown, pretty much the worst time, summer of 2020, my friend Pete Stout, who's the editor-in-chief of 000 magazine, reached out to me, and he pitched me and Lewis a story where we would drive in 2 different cars. We would do like a 718 and also like a GT4, and it was like a Spider versus this GT4 that we would road trip from Los Angeles all the way to Colorado Springs. And then we would be able to shoot on the mountain at Pikes Peak, because guess what? It was the original days for the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb that got delayed because of the shutdown. So since those days were pretty much blocked off already, 000 magazine reached out to Pikes Peak and asked them, hey, can we take those days anyways? And can we use them to photograph some special cars? They accepted, and for the first time in my life, I had Pikes Peak as a location to myself during the best light possible, during the sunrise. And of course, we had also, I think, the best camera car, which was the 718 Spider. I literally stood on top of the passenger seat with pretty much my torso hanging over the front windshield, just standing up. And I was shooting forward, backwards, to the side. We were crossing lanes because that mountain was all to ourselves. Lewis was driving and we were following our friends, Pete, Alex, and David Donner in the race car. that we were shooting. I think it was the GT2 RS and also the updated 935, the all carbon version. We just wanted to do something special, you know, and because this opportunity was presented to us, we were able to do, I think, honestly, one of my favorite photo shoots that I've done on Pikes Peak. It's just so crazy. You'll never forget your first time just having that sunrise to yourself and nobody else was there to enjoy it. And, you know, it really made me forget a lot of the problems that we're having around that time. And it brought me back. Since then, it's been so incredible to do so many stories with 000. It's kind of hard to remember all of them off the top of my head, but every single time I pick up my camera for them, I push so hard. And I understand that when I shoot for 000 and the select photos get published in the magazine, only a select few special individuals that subscribe will be able to see the photos. And I understand that's probably not the most efficient way to be an automotive photographer in terms of getting your work out there, but they've laxed the rules a little bit over the past couple years, letting me use them for my social, for their social, in our videos. It's just a different way to enjoy them. But of course, the words that pair up to the photos are very exclusive and it's just so special. The magazine is just so packed full of information. And if you pretty much have every issue and you've read every one cover to cover, I feel like you would have so much Porsche knowledge just exploding out of your head. It's a lot to take in. I mean, the historic stuff that they dive into, the archival stuff that they get to photograph in Germany at Porsche, just the papers, the napkin drawings, the blueprints. It's crazy how deep they get into it. One thing that's really neat also is that there's pretty much minimal to no ads in any of these. They're more just partnering up with these brands that support the magazine. One thing that's really cool that I found out only recently after working with 000 for so many years is the spine, right? So we're kind of doing like a little build breakdown on the magazine itself. So there's two versions, right? There's the soft cover, which is this. That's the regular subscription. And they also have a hardback cover version that comes in a metal case. And those are really special in that every single one of them come with a copy of the cover that's signed by the photographer. The normal softback cover version is super nice. It has a similar cover shot a similar way on every single one of these issues. The lettering is raised here, which is really premium. But what's really neat on the spine, there's a little bit of like a color swatch. And this is something that blew me away when I found this out. The swatch here is showing every single color of the cars, of the Porsches that are featured in this magazine. So this one starts with like a dark red, white, then blue, then gray, then orange, and so on and so forth. So every single one of these are different. And then also what's really fun for me is that the front cover is obviously the main feature car and the main story. Like this is something that we shot at Pikes Peak. And then the back is not an advertisement, right? So most traditional magazines, the back is an advertisement. Half the time when the magazine's put on a table, the back is what's showing. But the back is always a behind the scenes photo of what it was like when the cover was getting photographed. It's not really fair to call this a magazine. I know it's called 000 magazine, but essentially it's really a Porsche book. And it's printed on really nice material and it is archival. I keep every one of these. I don't throw any of these away. The writing and photography is excellent in every one of these. Of course, if you want to support 000 magazine and you want to support my photography and what I do, if you want to pick up a subscription, I'm not going to stop you. I would appreciate that, and you guys will not be disappointed. So I hope you guys enjoyed this update. It's just a fun way for me to give back. It's a fun way for me to let you guys know what I'm up to. And hopefully you guys want to sign up for the newsletter to get one of these free issues. I know there's so many Porsche fans out there all over the world. I've been to so many incredible collections, so many shows, not just in the US, but in Europe, in Southeast Asia, in Japan, and pretty much all the corners of the world that I travel to. Definitely appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you so much for your support.